So let me just begin with a reading from Whispers from Eternity, which is a book of prayer demands written by Paramhansa Yogananda. Make me thy butterfly of eternity. I have burnt my past, destroying every seed of evil destiny. I have stridden bravely through the strewn ashes of my past and future fears. I am the eternal now, having torn to shreds my enclosing cocoon of ignorance with the sharp knife of free will. Now I am thy soaring butterfly of eternity, flitting freely through immeasurable skies of time. The beauty of my wings I spread out through nature everywhere to entertain all beings. My wings are sprinkled with suns and stardust. Lo, I am beautiful. May every silken thread that shrouded my past folly be severed forever. See, they trail now behind me, only adding to my beauty, as I wing my way to my own self in thee. So in the Hindu scriptures, we have heard the story of creation, where it is said that there is only Brahman, only spirit. And from there arose a thought that I am one, let me be many. And this little vibration of a thought that started became grosser and grosser and finally became you and me. All of us, this creation, right? So sometimes we take the analogy of pottery and we say that there was only clay everywhere, and this clay becomes pots and pans and all sorts of objects. But where's the potter who makes the clay, these pots? There is no potter, there is nothing else except that intelligent clay that forms itself into different pots and pans. So it is with consciousness, so it is with spirit. There was nothing else but spirit, and it became us. So what is the difference between us and spirit, between us and God? And what do we think? That in the future sometime we will find God. Or we even postpone our search. Oh, this is too difficult at this time. I have children to send to college. I have so much money to earn. And all of this is happening. We will look for God later. So we put it away in the future. But is God a thing of the future? No. He is always with us, within us. Right? It's only a matter of changing our thoughts, of having that perception to really perceive His existence within us. Paramhansa Yogananda said that in the heart of creation is the stillness of spirit or stillness of God. So within us exists God. And it is that part of us which is eternal, which is always in the eternal now, which has no past, future. It doesn't change from moment to moment. It's eternal and always present within us. All we need to do is to be still and perceive Him. Because when we become still and when we become quiet, when our mind and body becomes completely still, then all that is left within us is God, that God consciousness, that soul consciousness that is left within us. When all of our agitations, when all of our egoic preconceptions, restlessness and all the movement that exists within us is still and silent, then what else is left? There is only God consciousness, which is us. And we've glimpsed, all of us have glimpsed this through our spiritual practices, through our meditation, that little feeling that when we are very still, that joy that bubbles up within us, the peace that comes to us, all of that is that God consciousness within us. And Yogananji says, try to expand this peace, this joy that we feel in meditation to throughout the day, in our daily life. We've also, I think, heard of this story, but I'll repeat it anyway because it makes the point, that there was once a guru with a lot of disciples, and their study is over, and he tells them that now you go and give me Guru Dakshina. So now, of course, the disciples are excited. I would be that study is finally over, but these were the good ones, and they're like so happy and grateful to the Guru that we have learned so much, and they really want to give him what he wants. And what does the Guru say? Go and steal something really valuable from the village, but make sure nobody sees you, and then offer it to me as Guru Dakshina. And there's pin drop silence after the Guru says. And then after he goes away, as is usual, pandemonium breaks through in the classroom, and everybody has a different opinion about this. Some said, yeah, I knew it. All his life he's been telling us, don't steal, don't lie, don't do this, but it's not practical in this world. He is like us only. And some others say, no, it must be a test of blind obedience, of faith to the Guru. We must go and do what he says. Others have all their opinion, and everything. So they go out in the night and go quietly, silently into different houses, trying to find the most valuable gift that they can find for their Guru. And they come back. Next morning, he says, okay, have you got it? So everyone is like, yes, Guru, see how beautiful, everybody gives them their objects. But there's one guy sitting in the corner, one student, and he is looking very upset and very distraught. So the Guru says, what? You didn't get me anything? You couldn't find anything? Or was it very difficult to break into somebody's house? So he said, Guru, I really want to bring you Guru Dakshina, but I can't reconcile to two things that you told us. So he said, what? He said, you said, go and steal where nobody sees you. But you also said that God exists within our hearts as a witness, as an observer of everything that we do. So how do I deceive that person? How do I stop him from seeing what I am doing? So I couldn't reconcile these two things that you said. And then the Guru calls all the students and said, this is the only one who has understood my teachings. And then he says, okay, I'm about to retire and he is my successor. So this is generally, our idea is we do not see where God is. We do not know. We read all these books, God is within and everything, and all of that happens. But we do not have that realization, that real realization that God is within us, right? We are so drowned in the idea of this world. And why does this happen? This idea of the world? Because of Maya. We again also, I think, know the story of Brahmaji, who was given the task of creation, and he would create these sons from his own mind. And these sons obviously knew who they really were. They were God consciousness, and they didn't need anything to complete them. They were completely fulfilled. If you see what happens in the world, the biggest weapon of Maya, delusion, is dissatisfaction. So, we are always dissatisfied. So, we are always running. But these guys, they knew that we are complete in ourselves, and the minute he would create them, they would be absorbed back into spirit. So he thought of this clever idea of putting a veil in front of humanity. so that we could not see our own self, what is inside of us, and we feel unfulfilled because we can't feel that. So we look outside and we run after all the desires and objects of the world to try and find something that will fulfill us. That is why when we run after desires, what are we doing? We create a lot of anger, we create hates, we create jealousy, worries, anxieties. And what happens to living in the now, living in the present? We are always living in the past hurts and losses, or the future worries and anxieties. What about now, where God is? There we do not see, there we are not. Right? So, there was a female relative that I have, and a few days back I'd gone to her place for dinner. She has a little bit of an orthodox view on things, which I do not agree with all the time, because I think I'm a little feminist by nature, by heart, a little bit. So in her opinion, of course, she's right with all of our traditions and customs, but I just can't agree to them. And as she's going on and on and on about the role of women and the role of everything and the traditions and all of that, and I couldn't stop myself, and I had to protest a couple of times that I was summarily shut up by her and similar relatives. So now, I mean, it's a party and relatives around, so I just stayed in myself, which is the worst thing that we can do, because then my mind is, what is she talking about? What on earth? Do people still think like this? What is happening? And all of these self-justifications, moralistic, I'm feeling like I'm in the really moral high ground there, and so many prejudices, and I'm just, all of these voices. I knew she's like, and this is, and I knew, and all of those. And what am I doing? Just creating agitation and agitation and agitation in my heart, and I'm not able to say anything. Very irritated, I come back. And fortunately for the masters, we have satsang on Sunday, and I'm reading for that the next day. And when I'm reading about the eternal now, I said I was definitely not there that night. So when I'm thinking about it, I just realized I made this really beautiful path of habitual tendency. Right? I watered it with beautiful, sweet-smelling flowers and plants in that path. And every time somebody triggers me in a particular way, quickly I walk down that path. Suddenly all of those self-justifications, moral high grounds, all of that starts to just come in, and I flow beautifully through my path again. And I feel very comfortable and happy doing it, because I feel I am right. So when I was reading for the satsang, I realized this is exactly what's happening. And I decided, let me try it. So then I said, I will shut this path of habitual tendency. Why? Because it keeps us in the past, right? With my preconceived notions, when I meet that person, am I really meeting them? Not really. I'm meeting my preconceived notions of how they will behave and how I will behave and react to that person, because that's happened before, so I already knew, and that's why I was agitated also. So I just decided, let me close this path of habitual tendency, and something interesting happened. When that habitual way of thinking stopped, suddenly I was able to really understand what that person was saying. Suddenly I understood her point of view. I still keep my own opinion, but I can still understand her opinion as well. So we need to stop living in the past or the future, because when we live in the now, that is when our agitations, when we can become still, right? And then we can start to touch up on that presence of God within us. So so usually, as I said before, that in our practices, we are, having that experience constantly. Sometimes, this peace, this joy that we feel in our meditation, we touch upon that many times in our meditation. But what happens? You leave meditation and you go and shout at somebody. You get irritated at somebody. You tell your fellow workers off. You tell somebody off. And all of that peace is lost. Because right now, that feeling of God consciousness, of joy and peace is not permanent in us. So the masters say, expand on this peace and joy. Take it with you. The more we stay absorbed in this peace and joy, the more and more it will expand and it will become more and more permanent in us. In the Autobiography of a Yogi, Yoganandaji describes his first experience of cosmic consciousness when his guru touches him lightly on the chest and his breath just goes out. So let me just describe that to you. An oceanic joy broke upon calm, endless shores of my soul. The Spirit of God, I realized, is exhaustless bliss. His body is countless tissues of light. A swelling glory within me began to envelop towns, continents, earth, solar and stellar systems, tenuous nebulae, and floating universes. So you saw in his experience of cosmic consciousness, all past, present, future ceased to exist for him. It was all the eternal now. There was nothing beyond him. He was everywhere and in every time. And when in Nirvikalp Samadhi, this becomes our permanent state, we also reside in the eternal now, in the bliss of God consciousness. Thank you, friends.
So I'll also share a few thoughts based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda on today's topic, the eternal now. And as Paramhansa Yogananda says, past, present, future, no more for me. And that's the way he wrote it in his Samadhi poem. And he also says that in future, just like today, there are space annihilators, which means the distance doesn't matter anymore. We can connect to anyone on this planet from any other part of the planet. We have devices for that. So space doesn't exist. Right now we can connect with anybody in US or Europe. But 50 years ago, if somebody had said that, we would not be able to grasp how. Right? We won't be able to understand that. But Paramhansa Yogananda says in the near future, time will be annihilated, which means people will have telepathic abilities. An average person will have telepathic abilities, and a man will have a mastery over the time. And the best part is, time is an illusion, but it is so real to us. So we'll have to balance it. We'll have to understand that this is not something real, yet we need to work with what we have, which is, it's very much real to us in today's date and time. So how do we understand? So first, we need to understand that the past and future only happens in the present, because whatever your life's experience to the previous moment, if you rethink it, you're rethinking it now. And if you're curious about your future, you're thinking about your future now. So everything happens in the present moment. And our consciousness, which is nothing but God is present in each one of us, and He's in me, He's in you, but His consciousness, when it is filtered through the mind, makes time very real. When the mind is switched off, the time also ceases to exist. That's why when we go to sleep, we don't know the time. Like, you fall asleep, when you wake up, will you be able to gauge how long you slept without looking at the watch or the sunlight outside? Not at all. We wouldn't, because the filter was absent. The mind was absent. So mind is something which we have to deal with here. But we belong to a lineage where practicality is stressed a lot. So yes, theoretically now we know that when the mind is switched off, that is when we are asleep, time doesn't exist. So time is an illusion. But how is it changing my life? How is the quality of my life different before knowing this fact and after knowing this fact? If there should be some difference. So I'm going to share few points which Paramhansa Yogananda shared from his life to apply this practically into our life. So first and foremost, since in this physical world it takes time to achieve anything, which is to say you talk about any famous sports person, musician, actor, there is always a struggle, a story of effort, a story of persistence behind a successful businessman or in any field. So our mind tends to think that we'll have to put a similar amount of effort to be one with God. So we think that we need to meditate for years and we'll have to do seva for years, and somewhere in the future maybe God will be with us. Now that's where the mind is. This is where the illusion starts. Now you need not even answer me. You can go home and ponder about this. God is with all the enlightened saints. Yes or no? So let's say Ramakrishna Paramhansa was a saint. He was one with God. Okay. We are also made in the image of God. Is God within us? Yes. Now, is God present more in Ramakrishna Paramhansa than any one of us here? No. Then why is there a difference? Why do we think that one day we will be one with God when He is already one with us right now? That we need to put in practice, which means that we need to behave like a saint right now. Anybody who hurts you, forgive them like a saint would forgive. Start behaving like one. That's why all the affirmation is in the present tense. Lord, I am thine is the chant we chanted today. We were not singing that, Lord, I will be thine someday in the future. And all the affirmations which we practice, I am peace, I am calm, I am free. It's in the present. We have never affirmed, I will be free someday, I will be in joy someday in the future. No, it's now. It's now or never. So life happens in this moment. If you go around this garden, there are different signs from different religion. The last one is a quote of Paramhansa Yogananda which says, the time for knowing God has come. It's a very majestic statement. I like it. When you see it starts from Gita, then there is something from Bible, there's something from Quran and every different religion, and then Master says, the time for knowing God has come, and it is today and it is now. And that affirmation we should have. And what takes us away from that reality is our desires. Swami Kriyananda gives a story that a person is walking very happily in the garden, and he's enjoying, he's fulfilled, content, and everything is perfect in his life. And he looks at the flowers, he admires the flowers, he's able to listen to the birds sing. And then he looks up and sees a very beautiful bird, and he says, if only I have a camera right now, I would be able to take a photo of this bird and save it forever. But I don't have a camera right now. That's where his joy got lost. He was already joyful, but when the desire cropped up in his mind, he wouldn't be joyful. And then this is where we deviate from now. So now he has put a condition to his own happiness that he will be happy when he has a camera and when he is able to take a photo of that bird. So that's where we deviate. And past, present, and future no more. Future doesn't exist. So if he's saying that he is going to be happy in the future, he's not going to be happy ever, because future doesn't exist. So we need to make a strong affirmation that I'm going to live in the present. And there are few stories also which Paramhansa Yogananda has given. One is about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Many disciples were asking him after one day, when will I find God? And to his disciples, he said that you will find God in this lifetime. You will find God in maybe 2 to 3 lifetimes from now. And they were all very upset. It will take 2 to 3 lifetimes from now, what to do? And to another disciple, he said that you will take 1,000,000 lifetimes to find God. And all the other disciples would be like, so sad, so bad, feel bad for him. But they see this disciple dancing in joy. And they ask him, didn't you hear what he said? Actually, it will take 1,000,000 lifetimes for you. On the other hand, or just 2 to 3 lifetimes for me. So he said, how does it matter? But I will find God. And that attitude is what we need to have. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu calls him back and blesses him into samadhi that very minute, because he had the right attitude about time, because time doesn't exist. And he says, Paramhansa Yogananda says, if with intensity we are able to affirm right now that I am free, we will be free. God is not a dictator where he punishes us, he forces and pushed us into Maya, and he is punishing us. He has given the power of will, the power of concentration to us, so that we can use it and intensely affirm and be free right now. But we don't use it. And once he also explains that when he was buying this property in USA, as the Mount Washington, the headquarters as they call, the initial deposit sum of money was really, really huge. The organization which he founded in US could not afford it then. So a few disciples said, oh my God, that kind of money, with the income we have right now, it would take 20 years to generate that kind of revenue. But Paramhansa Yogananda said, 20 years for those who think 20 years. 2 months for those who think 2 months. And he got that property exactly as it was. The agent gave a date, and he was able to contribute that money and get that property, which is still there. And he says, affirm now. So when we are meditating, Paramhansa Yogananda says, meditate in God. Don't meditate to God. So what's the difference is, we shouldn't think that God is somewhere else and place our concentration on Him. Don't think that He is somewhere and you are concentrating on Him. Meditate in a way that He is already present within you and He is one with you. So don't meditate to God, meditate in God, because He is with you right now. So meditating in God is the most practical way. And meditation is what? For those who have done the basic course here at Ananda Sangha, you know that we practice the focusing on the breath. Our mind will be focusing on the breath, and it will hop and run around into the future or into the past. What do? Pull it back, make it focus on the present and the breath. We try our level best to keep our awareness rooted in the present moment, because this is the only reality. So by practicing meditation, we can live in the eternal now. And I'll just end this sharing with a couple of lines from Bhagavad Gita, where Swami Kriyananda writes. This is page 363. Those who want to read more about this can go home and read. He says, "Live now in God. Live now in God. Now is the only time you will ever have, since tomorrow too will be only another now when it arrives." So let's be in God always. Thank you.